Welcome to the 2026 Poetry Awards at Westchester University. My name is Jen Bacon, and I serve as the Dean of the College of Arts and Humanities here, and I am so delighted that you're here to celebrate the Spencer Poetry Awards with us. As you know, these poets from around the country compete in the national quest for excellence in poetry. We have undergraduate poets from across the country from, Manhattan School of Music, University of Georgia, Rice University, Colorado Mesa University, Washington College, Bryn Mawr, and one of our own English majors, Mac Barr from Westchester University, is going to be celebrated. It's very exciting. So I know you're going to enjoy the show, but let me first just give you a couple of thanks. First, thank you so much to our amazing judges. Jill McDonough did such a wonderful job picking the Donald Justice Prize winner this year. You're going to be hearing from James Davis from his manuscript, Bottoming for Dummies, which I think you'll find is quite a treat. We also want to thank Jill Kwon Glass for her work judging the Spencer Undergraduate Poetry Awards and the Will Mills Chapbook Awards. You'll be hearing from Julie Schulman from her book Erratics. So lots to be excited about there. And I wouldn't be the right dean if I didn't mention Rhina Espaillat, who at 96 is still judging the Rhina Espaillat Awards. So you're going to be hearing from some wonderful poets there as well. And you got a great show in store for you tonight, this afternoon, this morning. You have a great show in store for you. Lastly, I want to thank Keen Spencer and the Spencer family. We wouldn't have these amazing poetry awards that we've been doing for more than 20 years without the dedication of that family and their honoring of Iris Spencer. It's truly inspiring. It has inspired a generation of poets, and I know those poets are going to inspire you when you get to hear what they have to say. And I want to give a shout out to Sam Bugby, our amazing videographer and poetry intern this semester. He's done a wonderful job putting together this show. I know you'll agree when you get a chance to see it. Sam is a dual major here at Westchester, getting a bachelor's degree in media and culture and a Bachelor of Science degree in marketing. He's also doing our sports media broadcasting certificate. Sam, thank you so much for your work for the Poetry Center. Oh, and one more thing. You're not only going to get to hear from our award-winning poets, you're going to get to hear some special readings from our judges as well. So you'll be hearing from Jill McDonough and Jill Kwon Glass. Lots to be excited about. Enjoy the show.
It is a tremendous honor to have been the judge for the Westchester University Poetry Awards. The Spencer Award, the Myong Haiku Award, the Rhina P. Espaillat Award, and awards for Sonnet and Villanelle. Writing effectively in form requires both imagination and discipline, attending to the container which both limits and expands the poem, both tightrope and the view below. It requires faith, patience, and risk. All of the poems you will hear today are a masterclass in walking that tightrope. The process for selecting winners and runners-up includes waiting to be captured, enraptured, dismantled, or stunned. It involves paying attention to the physical and or psychic reaction that I have as I read or the necessity of closing my eyes at the end of a poem. That sense that I have been invited into a world, a lens that I would not have discovered or accessed without that poem. Each of these poems is a world with its own access, constellations, language. They ask, what are we willing to leave behind? Where do we go? What and where is home? How do we let go and when do we hold on? What secrets do we keep and what do we reveal? When are we absolved? When do we forgive? Where do we find one another again? What worlds might we seek, excavate, or imagine even as we navigate the worlds we have been given? Thank you to each writer who opened these portals into new worlds and invited us in. I'd like to introduce the first place winner of the Spencer Award, Clara Vi Welsdong, for Homeland, Neither Home Nor Land. Clara Vi is a poet and multidisciplinary artist from Vietnam and Virginia. Her work appears in Poets.org, The Adroit Journal, Nimbus Literary Magazine, and elsewhere. She is a junior at Bryn Mawr College studying psychology.
Hello, my name is Clara V, and I will be reading to you my poem, Homeland, Neither Home Nor Land. Homeland, neither home nor land. There's food on the table in the absence of language, an attempt at translation to ask when and where and what were you willing to leave? Behind the shadow of a home, in the wake of a plane, what presides over the page renders memory inert, and the girl in the corner. There's a girl in the corner who looks over at me. Fear is as wide as it is deep. Did you enter? I'm straining for her footsteps, and a turn of the doorknob, a body in flight, swept up by the violence of abstraction. Food, cold on the table, stares right at me. There's food on the table. There's a girl in the corner who, in the absence of language, looks over at me. Fear is an attempt at translation, as wide as it is deep, to ask when and where did you enter, and what were you willing to leave? I'm straining for her footsteps behind the shadow of a home, and a turn of the doorknob in the wake of a plane. A body in flight, swept up by what presides over the page. The violence of abstraction renders memory inert. Food, cold on the table, and the girl in the corner stares right at me.
The second place winner of the Spencer Award is L. Jones for Kentucky Poem. L. Jones writes poetry in English and Russian on femininity, government, and the natural world. Her prose has been published by Black Beacon Books, and her poetry is forthcoming in the Agnes Scott Writers Festival magazine. She studies osteology at the University of Georgia.
Hello, my name is Elle Jones, and I'm a junior at the University of Georgia, and this is a sonnet called Kentucky Poem. Kentucky winter was a snap so cold my chapped lip skin about sloughed off of me, and all the crows froze into chattery black chips of shiny southern granite stone. Way back before bridle or saddlery, you were a man, I was only a colt, and though I knew some things you didn't know, I famished myself on your paucity. My throat went dry in a white sky of crows, my eyes went snowblind learning to obey. I laid me down and let myself be broke. Believe me, it was easier that way. Come springtime, when you asked me where to go, I found I didn't have a thing to say.
The first place winner of the Myong Haiku Award is Hannah Gao for Skinned Knee circa 2013. Hannah Gao is a writer and a student at Rice University. She has been published in the Ekphrastic Review, Yukon ECE Magazine, R2, the Rice Review, and elsewhere. She is passionate about humanity, creative work, and the pursuit of joy. You can find more of her work at hannahgao.substack.com or at Hannah's Corner of the Universe on Instagram. She is happy to be here and feels lucky to have you here.
Skinned Knee, circa 2013. Learning to bike means someone you trusted first had to let go of you.
The second place winner of the Myong Haiku Award is Mac Barr for Who Took Grammy's Vicodin. Mac Barr is a 24-year-old poet and hip-hop artist from Durham, North Carolina, and an English major at West Chester University. His work blends lyrical flow with personal storytelling, drawing on his experiences to create writing that is both expressive and authentic. He also has a strong interest in screenwriting and film.
What's going on? I'm Mac Barr, and this is my haiku, Husik Grammys Vicodin. Pill bottles rattle, Grammy's reason to still rise. If only she knew.
And the winner of the Rhina P. Espaillat Award is Carla Soto for The Stubborn Stain, La Mancha que no sale. Carla is a sophomore at Colorado Mesa University pursuing a triple major in Hispanic Studies, Spanish Interpretation and Translation, as well as graphic design. She is a native Spanish speaker who has always loved the arts and finding new ways to express herself in both languages. While it is a vulnerable piece, Carla is truly honored to have been given a chance to share her work on this platform.
La mancha que no sale. Tú eres la luz de la luna, que resalta tranquilo en la noche, la belleza de la vida oculta. Te odio por buscarte en coche. Mi sombra me mira con pena, pero mis labios extrañan tus besos. Espero por tu olor de hierbabuena, te odio por estos excesos. Yo soy la mancha en tu vida, desesperada al salir en la lavada. Debo dar vuelta en tu avenida, te odio por haberte dado una entrada. Te odio porque no me dejaste. The stubborn stain. You are the light of the moon that shines calmly in the night. The beauty of life hidden. I hate this search for you while I drive. My shadow looks at me with pity, but my lips miss your kisses. I wait for your scent of spearmint. I hate you for these obsessions. I am the stain in your life, desperate to wash out. I need to drive around your block. I hate you for letting you in. I hate you for not letting me look.
The winner of the award for Sonnet is Jaya S. Basu for Romance of the Kitchen Sink. Jaya S. Basu is a multidisciplinary poet, playwright, director, actor, visual artist, and sewist based in Washington, D.C. They are a BIPOC fellow with Trans Poetics Archive and are poetry editor of Collegian. Their play, Maha Moha, was featured at the inaugural Tea for Tea for Tea festival in Baltimore and was the recipient of the Nathan Lewis Jackson Award and received the Distinguished Achievement in the National Undergraduate Playwriting Award at the American College Theater Festival. They were a featured playwright in Rorschach Theater's Klexography, Vox Populi, and their writing has been published in Anodyne Magazine, Collision, and the Trans Mag. They enjoy cephalopods pointing out linguistic mergers and saying, "Thank you, I made it," when complimented on a clothing item.
My name is Jaya S. Basu, and this is Romance of the Kitchen Sink. I pen a letter to my love with guts, tomato, squash, and stray pink flecks of sponge. They line the basin thick, beloved, but the drain is clogged, so fearlessly I plunge. I arm myself with silicone and soap. Gray plastic clangs on stainless steel and blade. A noble knight needs neither luck nor hope. Your fetid bestial enemy is slayed. Approach me, love, as you approach the plum, your head atilt, lips parted, flushed and sure. Our kitchen swathed in evening's pale blue hum, a battlefield of anguish is no more. I lower paring knife and plastic shield. I feel the peach flesh of your arms and yield. Thank you.
The first place winner for Villanelle is Hannah Gao for Forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Smoking gun, still hot to the touch. Took the wrong long way back home and ran out of luck. In each resolution we find solace, but never much. Even a path of glory eventually leads to the grave. A fight led to the war of my life, led me to golden marigolds spread across the shape of my name. Smoking gun, still hot to the touch. I am an uneasy August evening filled with dandelion seeds and melancholy. Amidst a dreamscape of neon lights, the merry-go-round breaks down. In each resolution we find solace, but never much. I had no privilege of picking my poison, it was forced down my throat. Remembering adds insult to injury, so I roll up my sleeves, I clench my jaw, I seal my fate. Smoking gun, still hot to the touch. Rolling waves, high tide, straight lines, born to unwind through rhythm and time. I'm glad they crash upon the wrong side of the cliff where I sit. I'm glad they claw their way to me. In each resolution, we find solace, but never much. I will absolve this city. Any love I showed you is yours to keep. I will soar through the tall, proud trees with mane under me. Smoking gun, still hot to the touch. In each resolution, we find solace, but never much.
The winner of the Will Mills Chapbook Award is Julie Shulman for Erratics. Julie Shulman is a writer and art director living near Boston with her husband and 3 boys. She recently completed her MFA in poetry at Pacific University. Her work has been featured or is upcoming in Lake Effect, the Southern Poetry Review, 2/3 North, Mud Season Review, the Citron Review, Ink in Thirds, Third Wednesday, the Avalon Literary Review, the Passion Fruit Review, and elsewhere. Erratics is pure magic, the sort of manuscript that gives you chills as you read and reminds you why poetry is still essential to our imaginations and our reckonings. I was awed by the way the poet manages both magnitude and focus, cohesion and scope, how they balance tender images with stark language in a way that is both jarring and grounding. These poems offer readers a haunted cartography connecting the Earth's ancient histories to our ancient grief. What remains hidden and what will be revealed? How do we make a home in the world and in one another? I imagine the speaker in Erratics as an old soul. These poems are both ballad and plainsong, record-keeping and elegiac. They are mature, memorable, and distinctive from the first poem to the last.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Shulman, and I'm thrilled to share that my work, Erratics, was selected as the winner of the 2026 Will Mills Chapbook Award. It is an honor to be here, not just as a poet, but as a member of this year's Spencer Awards community. Congratulations to all the winners. Thank you to Westchester University's Center for Creative Writing and Poetry, to Keen Spencer, who makes this award possible in honor of his mother, Iris N. Spencer, and thank you to Joan Kwan Glass for selecting Erratics, as well as for the elegant words she wrote about it. I'm grateful to be part of this tradition. Now I'm going to read to you some selected poems from my chapbook, Erratics. Blind Cartography. As a child, my father crowns me navigator on the sailboat where we live while he is dying. On the night we cannot see past the bow, I summon the Coast Guard from below deck by marine radio. I call up direction to my father in the cockpit, the dangers of the passage, a list of coordinates repeated back twice. He delights at the slap of surf against the hull, the salt spray drying on our fingers. He loved to tell this story of his daughter guiding him into port through the fog. I move like an underwater Argonaut, headlamp shining in the darkness. The main thing is to keep going, I like to think he was trying to say. Avalonia. The bulk of North America descends from the ancient continent of Laurentia, which still forms its core. But along the New England coastline, a slim, ragged slice comes from a different type of rock, split between Newfoundland and Britain, when it was broken apart by the creation of the Atlantic Ocean 460 million years ago. On the surface, the land betrays no seam of diffusion. Most people have never heard of Avalonia, but it is older and denser than what surrounds it, prone to sharp shards. I think of the time my son fell against a rock in our backyard, splitting his knee open. I could have sworn our yard was only dirt and grass. Dead reckoning. My father sailed to America by way of the boiler room of a cargo ship from Norway as a teen. His journey was meant as punishment for wild ways. He left unsure of everything except that he'd never go back. At sea, landmarks are noted on a chart and compasses point to the north, and the winds are northwesterly, which is to be expected, unless a storm is in the offing. But how to locate a position on paper while in the middle of the ocean is a more difficult prospect. Maps grow distorted over distance. Greenland is not as big as it seems. There is no name for water where the chart indicates it is land. Mariners might use dead reckoning to locate themselves when at sea, estimate based on a starting point, extrapolate. Danger lies in small errors and missed details multiplying with time. 3 degrees off course over 1,000 miles, a hidden current pulling eastward at 6 knots. For that whole journey, my father was working below the waterline. Improbable victory. My husband decides to read War and Peace cover to cover while brushing his teeth. Like a craftsman who measures and cuts each piece of an elaborate facade, he smooths thin pages of tiny print down with his hand and, toothbrush wand buzzing, settles into his task for 2 minutes at a time. Small divots form where his thumbnail pins down the page. I think he'll never get through the fat, faded emerald tome that way, leafing through every so often to try to find evidence of progress. In War and Peace, Tolstoy writes, human action is best understood as the joining of many tiny units of activity. When Napoleon invades Moscow, his army is stunned to find it empty, already set on fire, leaving the French stranded without supplies in enemy territory. Floss string in hand, my husband marches forward night after night after night. Dear city, do you know? He conquered it. Spring in the valley. My father had a scar running down his chest, drawing a half circle around his navel and continuing down. At the hotel pool, people would stare, but he didn't mind. Another chance to describe the ill-fated backflip off a ski jump and the way they split him halfway open to remove a ruptured spleen. After the surgery, other organs took over its work, knowing what was needed, not involving him in the matter at all. The body knows things. A yawn feels good, that stretch of inhale working its way through the body. But even scientists don't know why humans yawn. Air into capillaries, these old travelers cascade to the farthest ends of toes, whispering to parts we will never see. Life wants life the way a valley wants spring. I tell myself, scientists once theorized that memory was a physical thing, calling each unit an engram. For decades, they tried to measure its weight, instead discovering memory operates like energy, a firing of synapses between our cells. Engrams have no weight. Each time we recall something, the original commingles with the mind that remembers, creating something new. I tell myself lost memories become energy released back into the world. I tell myself this when you don't remember yesterday, my name, or where your grandson goes to college. You once said you have a tape recording of my father's voice, but can't remember where you put it. I tell myself that we all let go of our past a little bit each time we remember. I ask the universe for a daughter and am given 1, 2, 3 sons instead, hardy perennials forming in the alkaline soil of my insides. At first, they're tiny fists, tornado-hearted galaxies, whirl impotently at the edge of my vision. But day by day, they carve me gently into the shape of my love for them, which expands like a new universe. Confounding smudges, red specks, little monsters, human satellites. While young, Their orbits are irregular. They drag me behind them like stardust through their hidden months of becoming. Now they are messy adolescent constellations. I stand in the dark, marveling up at them as they spread across my night sky. Erratics. Can I confide in you that sometimes I wish my father had a grave? Maybe a low rock resting in the shade of an oak, somewhere I could rest from the weight of carrying him around with me. The stone might be a fossil, evidence, though extinct, that he was alive, a soft breathing thing. Instead, we threw his ashes overboard on a foggy afternoon in the San Francisco Bay from a cardboard box. My 15-year-old self shocked at how many chunks remained after his date with the charnel house. New England, where I live now, is known for its high density of erratics, displaced rocks that don't match the bedrock, stones that traveled far from home, placed, deposited, strewn along the landscape. Maybe he thought it lonely to be a grave waiting for a daughter. Maybe he knew somehow I'd end up living far away. I remember telling him I thought he'd love to be part of the ocean, each of us trying to accommodate the other. Lightning map. When lightning points to Earth, the flash we see is its fanatic kinetic energy hurling itself back up to the sky. The strike is the map of an apple tree, pointing its boned fingers at that which it loves, which is how it decides what direction to grow. Each bend-in branch, each channeled ridge, the way my wrinkling fingers bend around my family at the kitchen table. With a bright flash, I look up and marvel at how briefly is lit all the things I love. And one final poem, Cloudberry. Cloudberries grow wild in the Arctic North. They can't be cultivated by farmstead. To produce a berry, the female must be pollinated by a male who has happened to grow nearby. It takes 7 years to produce a flower, which then waits naked for a day. Toothed, crinkled leaves hold this treasure to the light, more than enough for the afternoon to admire, a soft measure of abundance. I rest one on my tongue, tart amber wisp of Nordic summer. It tastes like the day many years ago. My father cheered as I dove from the rocks on Vashelholmen Island. Each plant offers a harvest of one. Thank you so much.
Okay, hi. My name is Joan Kwong-Glass, and I'm going to read a few poems from various books that I've written. I have 4 books of poetry, including 2 chapbooks and 2 full-length poetry collections. The first poem I'm reading was originally published in Passages North, and it's called Going Home. And interestingly, this poem was recently on the Slowdown, and Maggie Smith read the poem on the podcast. And when she read it, she assumed that it was a dream sequence poem, and it actually was not. It was me reimagining going back to my childhood home and what that might be like in my own imagination. So here is Going Home. In the kitchen, my father slices a tomato. He sees me and smiles. I pull up a chair next to him. At age 6, there is only one narrative. I've been gone so long. My father tells me to chop the broccoli, but there is no broccoli. Instead of a knife, he hands me a ring of keys. None of the keys unlock the front door, but I keep turning the knob. I try until I forget which side of the door I'm on. In the backyard, my mother sits on a beach towel, grinning strangely and eating pages from her Bible. She accuses me of eating the broccoli. I shake my keys at her. My baby sister is 3. She makes wings out of paper bags and perches on the kitchen counter. She stays like that forever. Alive. Someone is wailing nearby. At first, I think it's coming from the neighbor's house, but then I realize my mouth is open and it's my voice. Can anyone hear me? I've been gone so long. Inside the house, wallpaper roses drop their petals like silent, pretty bombs. This next poem is called Café Atlantique, and it was originally published in Poetry Magazine. I wrote this poem right around the 8-year anniversary of my recovery. So I participate in a 12-step program, and I now have just over 11 years clean and sober. But this poem I wrote as a kind of reminder to myself, like a self-warning poem about when I start to think that maybe I don't need the 12-step program anymore, which is a normal part of recovery, just sort of questioning that or thinking about it again. I wrote this poem at a place called Café Atlantique, which is in the town where I live, where I've written many poems. Here's Café Atlantique. A whiskey truck passes by the window. Its logo says, "The crown is yours." The weary woman sitting across from me doesn't look up from her coffee mug. We pretend not to notice each other. It can be too much, one lonely person looking directly into the eyes of another. Last year, around this time, I watched a man walk out of the cafe, and as he stepped onto the crosswalk, a car came so close to hitting him that for a long moment the driver and the man froze, both unsure who should move first. The longer I stay clean, the more ways the world invents to get high. Sometimes I wonder if I'm missing out, that if, in spite of the undeniable evidence, the rehabs, the annihilation, the lost years, I could somehow safely use. This time, it might be different. It's not completely out of the question. It's easy to discount how far I've come when I'm not sure I want what comes next. I've been so creative, building worlds impossible to bear without secrets, become an expert at plotting my escape. I am thinking about this when an approaching commuter train trembles against the rails, startles me back into my body. The woman across from me feels it too. She looks up. Our eyes meet. The train comes closer. This next poem that I'm going to read is about being a public school teacher. Sometimes it feels like working in a public school is like working in a little microcosm, or like its own world. And there are things that happen in the school that are really difficult to try to explain to people who haven't seen it or, who haven't participated in that community. This poem is about one of those experiences. It's called When Someone Scratches a Swastika Onto a Stall in the Boys' Bathroom, and it was published in Terrain. When someone scratches a swastika onto a stall in the boys' bathroom. The Anti-Defamation League holds an assembly in our auditorium. After explaining who they are and why they've come, they show our students photos of kids their age on the big screen and ask them to determine based on the photos who they think would be a bully, a jock, a nerd, who looks like someone they'd want to sit with at lunch. They do not ask students to pick out the likely school shooter. Many hands go up. Students are eager to share their thoughts, some silly, some earnest. I notice then that my student Bennett, who is on the autism spectrum, has put his headphones on and is looking toward the door. He does not raise his hand. When the assembly is over, I pull him aside and ask why he did not participate. He shakes his head and looks past me, says, "There's no way to know just by looking at someone who they will be or what they will do."
Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. I'm Jill McDonough. I am going to read a little bit about bottoming for dummies. I was lucky enough to be the judge of the 2026 Donald Justice Poetry Prize, so I got to read a lot of great books. Now I get to read a little bio of James Davis. His first book is called Club Q, which is a lesbian bar that I used to go to at the I-Beam in the Haight in San Francisco in the 90s. They had bra nights. Sometimes you would just go in there and it's just like as far as you can see women in their bras. It was amazing. About bottoming for dummies, there is so much to admire in this smart and funny collection of poems, which I gobbled up in one sitting while laughing out loud and taking notes. From the great title to its epigraphs from Bottom and Midsummer's Night Dream, these poems are built on sharp attention to sound, surprise, formal bravura, and a lot of pleasure in language. I particularly love the funny, moving, attentive sonnets, and the range here, from baby pictures to jealousy and loneliness at an exercise class, to Sonic the Hedgehog, to exploring your own asshole in the tub, deep animal satisfaction as if popping a knuckle in slow motion. These page-turner poems keep you guessing, keep you wanting to see what's next, whether it's a terrific Villanelle, an accident, or a charismatic preacher explaining that the brain exudes a superglue at the moment of climax, which is why semen and cement sound so similar. I loved the conceits here, deep lexical dives like the 3-page title poem, and the sweet, real way they describe young love in The First Time I Enjoyed It. When he fucked me, my life fucked me. It was that good. There are a lot of hilarious turns of phrase, including the title itself, Bottoming for Dummies. I love the prim modesty of, I have had the clap but thrice, as well as the lines that make you go, aw, I put the hoe in Houston, where I wanted to put the us. Oh, and these forms are showing off. A guzzle for or, tiny couplets that feel enjammed, a do-re-mi sestina, the beauty of gold, of ass, of globed fruit, marbled trout, agate perch, obsidian salmon, and the chef's kiss terzarima of reveille, which makes home prep testing into a miracle of the everyday, which, like life, isn't it just? I leave my laptop open to this poem, my love for you unfinished, harebrained, glowing.
Greetings, everybody. My name is James Davis, and I'm going to be reading you some poems from my manuscript, Bottoming for Dummies, which was named this year's winner of the Donald Justice Prize. Oh, which is an absolute dream come true, and basically the thing that has made the past few months worth living. No, I'm kidding. But it's made it really nice to be living, nice to be alive. In a time that would otherwise be rather bad to be alive, I think. Anyway, I really want to thank Westchester University Poetry Center for making this award possible and for, bringing to life so many beautiful collections by poets who are some of my favorite poets writing today, including last year's winner, P. Scott Cunningham and Alexis Sears and Amit Majmudar and many, many others in this lineage that I'm like incredibly honored to be a part of now. I want to thank Etruscan Press, who will be publishing the book in 2027. I'm so happy to have my second collection land there. I really want to thank the lovely and funny and awesome and smart and wonderful Jill McDonough for selecting the book and giving me one of the happiest phone calls of my life. Um, this book was my PhD dissertation at the University of North Texas. So it couldn't have happened without my teachers and classmates here in Denton, Texas. So big thanks to y'all. And the earliest poems in this manuscript were written during my master's at the University of Florida, where Donald Justice was a big influence and where I first really got to know and love his work. And it's just so unreal to have my work, associated with his, even in some small way. So just very grateful and happy to be sharing some poems with you guys. So the first poem I'm going to read you is called To an Early Role Model. You were a good tarantula. Wide as the hand that types this line, 8 legs long as the line itself, little susurras jointing segment to segment. Mom kept you in the divorce. Had you been male, you'd have died before the marriage did. The husbands of your species snuffing out like sitcoms, while the wives drag on for decades like senators. We fed you crickets fat from Pet City, Miller moths trapped under our Tupperware and burped into your silky den. You pounced, supped, collected their articulate exteriors. When we forgot to cinch the rubber band around your little globe screen ceiling, you showed me what to do when I escaped. Épater les bourgeois, my stepfather, paralyzed upon the asterisk of you inside the dining room's still life with pears, inching towards the frame. You led me to find a footing in art, to need little, to want more. Now I too am childless, one of the gals. And if someone dangles a pencil in front of my 8 eyes, I'll rear up on my hind legs and bare the fangs no man would dare remove. This next poem is called Juvenilia. The spring of '99, perhaps my happiest, Mrs. Glasgow had us write our own epitaphs for language arts. No one found them alarming. Our exploding bodies, our marginal kabooms. Comedy approached tragedy in the cafetorium. Together we gyrated to Mason Biggie in our fug of hormones. I was a moorcock among moorhens. I penned an ode to Sheryl Crow, full of genuine pride for her clutch of Grammys. She's no ingenue. I knew. I wasn't too. I aspired to bottom in the spring play, his despair hilarious as Pyramus, a puck in ivied diapers, making him an ass, my ass, praised by the queen of the fairies. I was a royalist to Bjork and Alanis, my bedroom a solitary stanza where I jacked off and sobered up and wrote myself into a bedsore. At my worst, I was tedious. At my best, I went outside. This poem is called Learner's Permit. When I was learning to drive, Dad and I shared the cabin of a cream-colored pickup with an NRA sticker on the rear windshield and a lightly used mattress tied down in the flatbed, winding along the Columbia River to my runaway brother, who slept in a dog bed on Portland linoleum. Dad's turn at the wheel left my eyes to the gorge, my ears to the charismatic preacher on yet another tape. He spoke of pleasure, how the brain exudes a superglue at the moment of climax that fuses beholder to beheld. Which is why semen and cement sound so similar, he reasoned. If you come watching porn, you'll fall in love with porn. If you come looking at a man, you'll fall in love with men. I stared at the glittering water, its billion impurities invisible, and figured Dad had chosen this voice especially for me, my fusions, my desire forging a path forward, every day widening, wearing away. My body created an image of the speaker, creased khakis, wedding ring, lavalier clipped to white Oxford barely buttoned over his chest. I wanted this image to take off its shiny brown belt and use it as my leash. I wanted this image to fall in love with me. This poem is called The First Time I Enjoyed It. I don't know how to say this, but I loved him like I loved my scholarship. Full ride. I lived on him as I lived on campus. So far from home, it became home. The pavement wet from an autumn storm. I would go out walking after midnight under a Houston sky orange with humidity and light pollution, past empty lecture halls, the shuttered Union, the enormous bronze scroll lasered with letters from a dozen alphabets spilling their negatives onto every rain-streaked panel of the library's sleeping face. I took him as the limestone took those shadows, let him in as I let myself into my room, key gliding into lock, door opening onto flaking plaster, and extra long twins pushed clumsily together. I slept with him as I slept with my own dreams, urgent reminders of final exams and courses I never attended, advanced Ayurvedic chanting, American vampirism to 1865, medieval French pickles and preserves. I woke from him in a pool of relief and disappointment. Through his windows, I'd look out onto the courtyard of a quadrangle long since raised, where a junior sat with a Jarum black crackling in his left hand and a draft of a short story wilting in the right. I loved him like I loved that ghost, that cigarette, that story. When he fucked me, my life fucked me. It was that good. This poem is called Zoom. I am not wearing any pants at the virtual reading tonight. Maybe you can tell by looking at the little box of James virtually reading tonight in a wrinkled gray sweatshirt with a littler box of James behind me on my gallery wall. In my wrinkled gray sweatshirt, I am aging, my vainest years behind me. On my gallery wall hangs a bright acrylic self-portrait of a twink painted years before this reading in Florida, my bright acrylic self portrayed in a deep blue V-neck, saying, hey. Before this reading in Florida, the House proposed a bill in that deep red state saying gay might cost a teacher their classroom, their house. The proposed bill, like so many, is designed to peck, to accost teachers. Their classrooms feel a little less safe, less brave, like so many, designed to peck their students into familiar orders. I feel a little less safe, less brave, every time I check the news. I'm a student of a familiar order. I write my little poems and hope every time I check the news that my words will change your mind. I read my little poem and hope maybe, I can't tell by looking, my words have changed your mind. I am not wearing any pants. This poem's called Nudes, and it's my second to last. 1. Life has yet to furnish the occasion to send this greeting card, blank insides begging for a hand, copywritten by the decommissioned phenomenon factory, their disconnected voice and fax numbers stark on the bare bones backside. The money's on the front, the male sex, a dish paired best with fear. The subject's pecs, not much to write home about, nor the canebrake around his sleeping drake. The devil's in the miniature onk just above and to the left, delicately inked by a loving needle. The reliable don't fuck with me male model glare, 2 zits in the corner of his stingy smile. He's impeccable beneath his unbuttoned canvas Boy Scout shirt, flaring away from narrow hips. Sewn on the left sleeve, 2 patches, a 2 and a 6. His age? He looks through the lens as if to say, I'm shackled by the ankle and like it just fine. In the background, steel door, battered hinge, shiny lock. 2. First on my recents, he stands forever in his bathroom, clean but cluttered. Sunscreen, toothbrush, vetiver, pump of Donju hand soap the color of antifreeze beneath a spotless mirror. His skin glows golden hour, pink from the shower. A sodden meadow of fur from heart to sacrum reeks of petrichor. Little front range Yogi Bear. His thighs are tattooed burling logs, his ass a pair of fresh wineskins, his chin strap beard red lichen on alabaster. We met at a bar whose name I can't remember toward the end of summer, got lit on hoppy Chad Bro beer, and stumbled to the light rail where, behind a convenient juniper, one of us blew the other. I keep him neither there nor in his frameless bed, but in the air, herald of a pantheon, a messenger of every gifted member to come, nothing more. 3. For months, we've closed the distance with our figures, long missed emissions shot and shared, simultaneous as figure ever is. After this sort of sex, a sort of afterglow. Self-portraits from remote beds, heads propped against fists. In time of plague, our bodies hold themselves in careful poses. We become our nudes, the currency of image. We exist. Okay. So this is going to be my last poem. Thanks again to the Westchester Poetry Center. Thanks to everyone who tuned in to watch today. I really appreciate you all. This last poem is called Relations, and it is comprised totally of the letters within relations. So it only has R's, E's, L's, A's, T's, I's, O's, N's, and S's. And appropriately, this is the first poem in the manuscript, and I'm ending with it today because this book is all about putting the cart before the horse. So here it is, relations. Ease into it. It's relations, is all. One eats, one is eaten. One tastes salt, tannins, testosterone, anise, oil, rain. It's a sore area, a snail trail. It stains one's linens, tenses one's toes. One loses one's eye. It's an art. It's anal, not as in retention, so literal, so sterile, so rational. No, it's anal as in artisanal, intentional, real. Let it entertain as it trains. Learn its nastiest lesson. All is not lost. Thank you very much.
James Davis is the author of Club Q, which Edward Hirsch selected for the Anthony Heck Poetry Prize. Davis's writing has been featured on NBC News and CBC Radio and anthologized in 2 installments of Best New Poets, as well as numerous magazines and journals, including the Sewanee Review, the Gettysburg Review, 5 Points, Copper Nickel, the Gay and Lesbian Review, 32 Poems, and Pleiades. He holds a bachelor's in French from the University of Houston, an MFA in creative writing from the University of Florida, and a PhD in creative writing from the University of North Texas. His work has received support from the Sewanee Writers Conference, Sundress Academy for the Arts, the Hudson Valley Writers Center, the Mastheads, the Lighthouse Writers Workshop, and other literary arts organizations. He reads submissions for Narrative Magazine as a senior poetry editor and served as editor-in-chief of American Literary Review from 2023 to 2024. He lives in Denton, Texas, where he teaches composition, literature, and creative writing at UNT. Yay, James! Yay, bottoming for dummies. Now I'm going to read a couple poems from my most recent book, 2 from the middle. I tried to think of things that were thematically appropriate. So this is called Testicles at Trinity, the Atomic Testing Site. Surprisingly, I have very few poems about testicles. Trinity, the Atomic Testing Site, is open 1 day a year. So we stay in a Silkeros Super 8, eat green chili cheeseburgers 3 meals out of 4. We sing Don't Want No Scrubs to Scrub Oak and Tumbleweed, Get Up Early, Get in Line. We drive through the White Sands Missile Range. Men with guns say, don't take any pictures, and I say, okay, but I lie. It's my country, I tell Josie, shrugging, breaking the law, imagining each person in each RV around us saying pretty much the same thing. If you're wondering who goes to Trinity, the atomic testing site, the 1 day a year they are open, it's us. Also, a lot of white guys with Geiger counters. We start calling Geiger guys. They are so stoked to find Trinitite. Pick it up with their bare hands, put it in the pockets of pleated khakis, right down next to their balls. Trinitite is illegal. Trinitite was a mistake, a sort of bonus. About to blow up the first atom bomb, some thought it might ignite the atmosphere, burn the whole planet down. But fuck it, right? Let's find out. Which, isn't that just so us? But God, knock, breathe, shine, break, blow, burn, was merciful, gave us a new element instead. Alamogordo glass, atomsite, trinitite, white sand, and really high heat. And with this second chance, what did we go and do? We made jewelry, souvenirs. At the museum, you can see necklaces on women. Think, oh God, thyroid, flash low on the front of her neck. The blast lifted sand into the air, melted it, and then showered droplets over miles. We see one old man stretched out to get a photo of Trinitite in situ. his shirt tugged to bare soft white of belly here on the desert floor. White sand and wonder. White sand and a really slow burn. I'll read one more, then I'll say goodbye. Good job, team. The Creation Museum, Petersburg, Kentucky. God made the world, and he made it awesome. Before the fall, before Adam and Eve fucked everything up, the animals didn't die. The people didn't die. In dioramas, animatronic cave kids play with animatronic dinosaurs. Then the perfect world began to suffer. In film strips, we see skulls, smallpox, tanks, a mushroom cloud. Way to go, Adam. Thanks a lot, Eve. Here's what creationists love. Fossils, dinosaurs, Jews. What they still hate. Obama. People who ask where Cain's wife came from. The separation of church and state. The creationists just want to give you hope. Life isn't meaningless because you have hope through Jesus Christ. This makes me sad for them, embarrassed. Who knew their lives lack meaning? They need the Bible to be true, and they need for us to care. I don't care. I love me some Jesus. Love a world that hires actors to play the soldiers who killed him. Love them saying they were just doing their jobs. I love watching these people cast around for ways this world can prove the Bible's all true. So defensive about Cain fucking his sister. So sure there were pet dinosaurs. Thank you. Congratulations. Yay!
Oh, hello. Just catching up on a little poetry, looking at last year's Justice Prize winner, because this book just dropped. I know you enjoyed that show. Thank you so much for attending the 2026 Poetry Center Awards at West Chester University.